Right, okay, page 1. We need to identify all the parts that you need for this section. It's not a right lot of it really, so I've prepared those already. So these are the parts that you need. So the fuselage half and the cockpit floor, or the cargo bay floor, it's not the cockpit floor. A couple of bulkheads and a bit of pipe work, a little bracket, a little piece that goes just there. 2 windows and then the seats. Now then, I'm going to break convention because at the moment it shows on here on the instructions to fit this bit to this bit, put all the seats in and everything else, and then fit this bit last, this section here. I'm not going to do that, and I'll explain why. This part is the bottom of the fuselage, and it fits just there like that. Now if there's any discrepancy at all, because the tolerances of this kit are quite tight, it fits very, very well, but because if there's any discrepancy when you glue things to other things, you might get just an alignment problem just here, which we don't want. So what I want to do is glue that bit to that bit first. Right, the tape's off there, so it's dried now. I'm really happy with that seam line. Okay, a few components to fit before we paint anything. This bit goes there, it's got some little cutouts in it. That just sits there. And then we've got this bit that goes just there. And we've got that piece that fits just there. Okay, so this leaves us now with 4 components to paint. So the other fuselage side may as well be done at the same time. I'll be back when we're ready to do that. Valves that are underpainted, and then we've got the 2 bulkheads. Now we're going to paint those grey. Sprays bit. And this we need to just gently do this so we can leave some of the underpainting behind. There we go. Quite easy. Now next job now is to just a little bit of detail, and it's picking out there in black. Blue, but the framework is green, so we just push paint in the green parts. Okay, all the components are now painted. The final stage now is to give these parts a coat of satin varnish. Let that dry, and then we're going to give it a dusting of dry brushing with some light grey, just to pick out some more detail if possible. Okay, before we put the final dry brush on, I'm just going to put some panel liner on just to pick out some details. Okay, at this stage we're just using any water-based paint, water brush, and get rid of most of it. Okay, I'm just fitting the windows with some glazing cement. It's obviously water based. There's like so. There's the windows fitted. Right, there we go, everything's painted and ready to assemble. Okay, now everything's painted, ready to go, we can now fit the components. It's just fitting quite well. We just slot that bulkhead into there like that. Okay, the seats are fitted. And then we'll fit the bulkhead. Like so. And then we have... Okay, there we go, that's the first stage is done. All fits really nicely. I'm quite pleased with that. Just to show it, do a dry fit on it as well when you've got all these bits in place. Just make sure everything fits, and it does, it's beautiful. So that seam line down that side now, when it comes to that stage we can glue that together with no problems whatsoever. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. On to the next stage. Okay, we're on to the next page. Identify all these parts here, which are all these here. Some of them are still connected to the sprues to aid holding them while we paint them. So the first bit that needs fitting is this piece. And that piece just needs fitting in there like that. Now this is the part that holds the rotors in place, so that bit glues onto there like that. And then we have 3 actuator rods that fit. Like that. And then you end up with that arrangement. Right, all these parts need painting and assembling individually now, so I'll get all this lot painted and I'll be back. Okay, all this page here, these are all the parts that have been painted up. So built the that's the cockpit with the seats and stuff, been painted up accordingly. We've got this assembly, which is this bit here, basically like that. It's all been built the same way as all the rest of the cockpit was, and we've just painted that and give it a dry brush. So we need to assemble that now. So first thing we need to do is fit this piece. Okay, when you fit the cockpit, it's quite fiddly, is this bit. Try and fit the fuselage halves together and drop the cockpit into its place, which is just there. It just fits in that position there. Very difficult to glue in unless it's in that position. It needs to be in that position, obviously. And when you get it in place, drop some glue in there. And just hold the sides together with the rubber bands temporarily while that sets. And that's important that that's in the right place. While it's in this position, we can fit some other parts. So the central console just fits here. Also fit the rudder bar just there. I've got a joystick to fit in there. Okay, that's the cockpit installed. Some of the parts were quite fiddly to fit. This piece down here is very, very difficult to get in place. Following the instructions, I couldn't get the cockpit in, so I put that in afterwards. It's quite a challenge to get that part in there. Everything else is in okay. So at this stage now, we can fit the other side of the fuselage. I just need to put the window in. I've done that actually. So yeah, we can glue the fuselage halves together now. So we're making some nice progress now, so I'll take some stills of that. Okay, we're now joining the fuselage halves. Put some glue on the inside of that bulkhead there, with some slow setting glue there just to hold that bulkhead in place. So that rubber band's doing that job, and we're just dropping glue into the seams. So just go around all the seams and just make sure they're all tight before we go on to the next stage. Okay, now at this stage in the build we've got the basic structure completed. We need to add all the parts, such as in this case the tail is going to be extended, it's not a folded tail. And then we've got the covers that go on the top of here, like that. This piece goes there, this piece goes there. So we need to add all the parts that can be painted now, so we need to prime the whole thing. So some parts can be added now, some can't, because they'll get in the way of the masking process. So I'm going to add all the parts now to get it to the stage where we can actually lay down some primer on this model. Okay, the actual tail rotor assembly just glues in 2 halves, like so. And we need to put a piece on there. And we've got this top cover to fit on there, like so. And then we have this nose piece to fit on there like that. Okay, I need to fit this piece into the tail there. And then that piece goes into there, like so. Right, okay, before the canopy is fitted you have to fit a bit of instrumentation into the actual canopy itself. Be very, very careful when you fit this, because obviously you're gluing it to clear parts and there's not a great deal of tolerance on that front panel there, so you've got to be careful. Use the appropriate glue. I used canopy cement for these 2 pieces here, and I used a tiny bit of cyano just at the bottom 2 corners here to fit those. But yeah, that's okay now. So that canopy can now be fitted to the model. Before we do that though, we need to mask inside it just a little bit, so I'll explain what I'm doing in a moment. Okay, I added masking tape to the sides of the fuselage on the inside, on the fuselage, and I've also added masking tape to the inside edges of the canopy as well. So that can now be glued on to the model. I'll glue that on there with canopy glue. I'll glue on the canopy glue. Right, okay, everything's fitted that needs to be fitted, and it's all masked up and ready to be painted now, so I need to get a coat of black primer on this now. Right, okay, the model's been primed black. I'm quite happy with that. And I've primed this section white because there's now a stripe to go in here, a red stripe. And I want this red to be nice and vivid because it's a clean aeroplane as this. And that's 12.5mm wide from that panel line down this side of the fuselage. Okay, that's the red stripe painted. Just let that dry for a bit before I can mask it off, completely cover it up, and then I can start on with the camo. Okay, I've touched up the black. Now we can put a first colour of the camo on. I'm going to do the green first because most of the cockpit's green and I don't want to keep adding colour to that area, so I want to paint it all green first. It doesn't matter if it oversprays onto the bottom because that'll need repainting anyway. Right, okay, the green's on. I've just masked up now to do the grey. Just use white tack and filled in with masking tape. It's quite a time consuming process, but it pays to do this accurately because it just does show in the results at the end. So I'll get the grey on now. There we go, all the major painting parts are done now. I've painted the bottom again, so it was easier to mask it after the other camo had been done. So that's now done, quite nice, quite happy with that. So the next job now is to give it a very light coat of gloss just so I can start putting some decals on. Right, at this point I'm building up the undercarriage. Pay careful attention to the instructions. I've got to say it's not the easiest undercarriage in the world to make. It's It's akin to nailing jelly to a wall or herding cats, I would say, so it's not easy to get them right and accurate. Once you've built the undercarriage, paint the undercarriage legs, and then they fit into those two locating points there, I strongly recommend you glue them in with super glue just to give them some strength. I've put the undercarriage on now so I can put the model down while I'm adding the decals. Right, okay, the undercarriage legs are fitted, and I've just given them a coat of clear lacquer because there's a decal going there as well, so now I can comfortably put the model down. It's not with the wheels on, obviously. I can put it down while I'm decaling it and without having to worry about it falling over and scratching itself and things. So I'm going to get all the decals fitted now. It's quite a few decals to do. Obviously there's different ones for different ones, but we're doing this one. That's for a different model, but these are the common ones, so there's quite a few common ones. So it's quite a lengthy job to fit all this little lot, so we'll get that cracking. Right, okay, all the decals are done now. What I'm doing now, I'm just cleaning the areas where the decals are, just to clean off any glue residue left behind, because sometimes it can react with subsequent coats of lacquer, and I don't want it to do that, so I've been bitten before. So a bit of soapy water, very mild, very mild indeed, there's hardly any soap in it, and just clean off around the decal areas. Just make sure there's no glue left behind. Okay, the pipework underneath here is gunmetal coloured. This needs painting. So, okay, a few more parts to add. I've got this winch unit to fit here. That fits just above the undercarriage there. Fitted that on with super glue because it just goes on really nicely. That piece done. There we go, that's that pipework fitted. Right, finally fitting the little tail unit at the back here. There's no need to glue that in place because it's a very good fit. All these things that I've added afterwards, as you can imagine, this model is now quite fragile. Now, if you fitted all those parts first and then started doing the decaling, you're running a real risk of breaking things off all the time, and it would end up in disaster really. Or it'd certainly make your life harder. So I prefer to decal first, add the twiddly bits afterwards. So let's get there now. Next job, I think we need to get the wheels on. We need to get the exhaust stacks fitted, tail wheel at the back. I'm just adding a bit of a little bit of a wash onto some of these parts as well. Okay, these are the exhaust stacks. Come in two halves, you glue them together, and I've cleaned them up as best I can, and I've thinned out the edges a little bit. What we need to do is just paint those. They're quite a prominent part of the front of the aeroplane, so I think it's important to get these looking right. So first thing I'll do is paint them black, and then I'm going to paint them with, I think we'll go for silver first, and then give them a try brush of titanium or copper perhaps, and then some more weathering on top of that. Okay, to fit the exhausts you don't need to glue these in because they're a good fit. So they've got a flat on, so you can't get them the wrong way up. There we go, just fit like that. Ooh, so fragile. Same on this side. Wheels, just paint them black and give them a dusting of sand or anything fancy, and it picks up all the detail in the hub. I glued the actual wheel to the end of a cocktail stick on the inside really carefully. And you can just break it off. Right, there we go, that completes the undercarriage. Tail wheel fitted, both the main gear undercarriage fitted. Everything's on this now apart from we need to put the front nose piece on there, which is obviously red, and then we've got the tail rotor to fit, and then the main rotors, and I think we're getting nearly done. Oh yeah, and the side windows, they need fitting close position, and then the door open. So there we go. Okay, at this point we now go back to the stage where we build this front nose cone arrangement. It's quite a very prominent part of the model is this, and it's quite vivid at being red. It's quite shiny gloss red actually. But, so I build it up and everything, and then basically I've stuck some blue tack in the back of there so I can hold it, and then I can paint it. So the first thing that needs to do with that is paint it white with white primer basically, because we're going to paint it red. Okay, that's painted flat red. And before I put any gloss paint on there, I want to wrong brush. Put some panel light in those grills, because as soon as I put any gloss paint on it won't take. Okay, fitting these windows is kind of tricky. I put a bit of white tack on the windows, on the pane if you like, so I could pick it up, and then put some glue and glaze around the frame, and then just dropped them into place. It works out quite well. I can't get the blue tack off until it dries though, so it'll just disturb it again. I've also fitted some antenna wires on these points here. Obviously you don't get those in kits because they're too fine. I use some product called Easy Line to do that. They're quite bendy, so that's quite nice. So next job now to finish off this has been varnished. And get the decals on that now. I've also got the side door to put the decals on there and put the window in, and they can go onto the model. Right, we're building the propeller and the rear tail rotor. It's got 3 pieces to it. This piece obviously the main rotor itself, and this piece at the front. It's very fiddly to put together, and I'll try and show it when it's built. So it looks like that when it's done. It's very difficult to explain, you just have to kind of work it out, but it's not that bad when you get your head around it. But there you go, that's the pieces. Okay, each one of these collars is painted red, and the only way to do it is to brush paint it like that, and then we'll have to try and mask off the blades because they're black. Very, very small, very tiny thing. Okay, the way we're going to paint the blades, you have to mask off that edge there. So I'm going to use this ruler and then just use it as a mask, and then spray each blade like that. Quite a slow process, but it'll be worth it. Right, that's the blades painted up. And I've glossed the tips so we can put the decals on now. Okay, moving on to the main rotor blades. Just a few assemblies that you need to join together, these 2 pieces here. And then you just basically connect each blade to the central hub that you've just created with these 2 pieces, and then put a top on it. There's nothing much to it really, but you end up with this arrangement. This is the piece that goes on top of the actual helicopter itself, but I've chosen to glue it to the top of the blades as well, so we can glue that bit on afterwards. You can use decals, but I've chosen to paint the tips yellow. So I've done that first. I've sprayed that white, and then I've painted the tips yellow. So the top of the blades are green, same colour as the camo green on the helicopter, and the bottom is black, the same as the underside of the helicopter. So I'm going to do that basically first after masking these off, and then I'll pick out the actual colour, which is like a grey in the centre, and then we've got a few decals to put on, and that's about it really. So I'll get this painted up and I'll be back. Right, that's the blades painted up. So basically the black on the bottom and the camo green on the top. I need to paint the central hub at the minute, but I'm going to give that a coat of gloss now because we have some decals to fit. Right, okay, the rotors have been, all the decals have been applied. So we've got decals underneath both top and bottom, and I've now masked off the central hub area that needs to be painted grey. So I'll get that done now. Alright, the central hub's been painted now. I'm just going to dry brush it with some lighter grey. Just to pick out some of the detail. And the final job is to just give the blades a dusting of weathering stuff. Just takes the edge off the shine. I don't want too shiny. And we're left off with that. Quite happy with that. So that can be fitted to the helicopter now. Okay, there we have it. Quite difficult to pick up now. Everything's on the model, finished. Beautiful model to build. Really enjoyed this one. The only additional parts that we've added on are those little antenna wires at the back. That's it. Other than that, so I like the box. Quite a nice addition to the collection. Got a bit of dust on there. So there we go. Aries. Beautiful kit. Absolutely beautiful kit. So I will now put up some still pictures of this completed Westland Wessex. Thanks very much for watching.